So thank you very much for joining the session again. So today we are going to discuss about list comprehension. So list comprehension is nothing but rather uh, it's a specialized technique in Python programming whereby you can create a list but using an existing list but in a very concise and readable way. This comprehension generally uh, is to create a list using existing list. How you getting me? Either existing list or tuple or maybe a range. So that's basically what list compression means. It's a technique used in Python programming to create a list, but normally using an existing list or tuple or any other iterable object. Okay. Sometimes you have a situation whereby you don't need a whole list. So you're not just like muffin, but you have to filter maybe some certain value. So you have to provide some certain conditions. So that's why Luffy is basically classified into two. We have the muffin and we have the filter. So let me come back again and read what this compression is talking about here. So this compression in Python programming is a concise, readable, and efficient way to create a new list by applying an expiration each item in an existing iterable. So the iterable can either be a tuple, uh, a range, or tuple, a range, or a list, or existing list. So let me give an example. So to create, sorry, I'll take it one after another so that I will confuse one of you. So, but there will be a situation whereby you can provide a conditions. So maybe you want to filter something. For example, you can get a list, but maybe you want to get a list using a range of from 1 to 20, and maybe you want only an even numbers. So that is where you have what you call filter. This filter come into place. So you're now going to filter only those even numbers. So you are going to provide conditions. How you are getting me? And sometimes maybe you want maybe a prime numbers, or maybe you want odd numbers. Or maybe you have a list of names, so you want to filter only those who names start with maybe a vowel. So that's where this additional condition come into play. So this kind of list compression is what we call a filter. And there's another one which we call mapping. So basically, a mapping list compression is a kind of list compression whereby you don't need to apply any kind of conditions. So how do we create a list using list comprehension? Basically, this is the syntax. So let's assume we want to create a new list called new list. So new list is equals to, so you need to provide the square braces. Okay, this square braces, it indicates that this is a list because I told you before that whenever you have a structure or an object that starts with a square bracket, it means this object is a list. And if it has maybe just parentheses, that means it is what? It is a tuple. And maybe it have maybe a curly braces, that means it is what? It's either a set or uh, a dictionaries. So I think we will talk about that one maybe later. But basically, if you want to create a new list in a list comprehension, you just need to start with this square braces. The first thing is an expression. Basically, in mathematics, if you want to come up with a certain numbers or ranges, so normally we provide what conditions, right? Or we provide an expression. Maybe you want to create maybe a list that has a multiple of numbers. So that means here, this expression is that means this expression uh sorry, I'm saying someone. uh Okay. Okay, so this is the expression. Maybe we'll see that one in a subsequent uh, cells. So here you provide the expression. Maybe if you want to create a list of maybe a multiple of two. So here you have two times maybe x as a variable. Then four. Then you provide the range here. Then maybe if you want to have maybe uh so maybe if you want to have this each level, you can provide the range here. So basically this is the structure. So let me show you something, okay? Okay. Let's create a new list of okay, let me let me even numbers, okay? Even numbers here. Okay. So let's assume I have even numbers here. I want to create this even numbers using an ordinary way with it. Okay. So we can have four per number, right? From 1 to 20, yes. Okay. Then we can have, yes. So here we have this number when it divided by 2 without remember, that means this is an even number. So let's append it, okay? So that means this even number, we append that number if it's divided by 2 and without remainder, okay? And we can have this, and we can have the print here, okay? So here, these are the even numbers. So this is the traditional way of creating a list. But this is basically a traditional way, traditional for loop method, okay? But we can simplify this using a concise way. That's where the comprehension come into play. Okay, let me show you how to do that one. So we have even numbers here, even numbers. Okay, so even numbers now equals to. Okay, so look at here. This one number, just like here, we have a number from 1 to 20 because this 21 is not included, it's exclusive, right? So if a number is divided by 2 here and without any remainder, that number is what's an even number. So that's why here we have even number that append. I told you before, this append functions or method, it means please add this number to a list, but at the end, right? So for example here, I know that 1 will not satisfy this condition because 1 is an even number. So, sorry, an odd number. So 1 will fail. That's why 1 will not be included here, but 2 will be affirmed here. That's why we have 2 here. Then 4 will also be affirmed here. That's why you have 4. And how this rest out uh, are generated. So here, this is the most concise way and Pythonic way of creating a list using list comprehension. Okay, so I just only want these numbers, right? So that's why here I have only number here as an expression. But from where I want this get number, I told you before, to create a list using list comprehension, you need to have an existing list or an iterable object or range. So here I use the range, right? So that's why here I just want to go into a for loop. So I have 4. I want to start the for loop. So for number in this range, please, this is the conditions. So if this number divided by 2 and without any remainder, please add this inside this list. And let's run the program and let's see what the output. So let's have the print here, even numbers, and let's run it. So you see, so if you can understand this one, you realize that this is the most concise way of creating a list. And this one is, I think it's very simple. And after this one, this is the best way actually. This is the best way to create a list. Okay, let me create another one. Multiple of 2. Let's call it multiple of 2. Okay. So multiple of, let's call it multiple of 2. 2. Okay. So how can you create this list? Okay. So what is the expression? I told you before. This compression, look at the syntax. This is the most important thing to understand here. Okay. Number one is you need to have expression. Then we have this for. we always need to start with 4. But this is the item. If you want to go with numbers, then you write numbers. If you want to go with name, you have the name here. But this is the iterable. This iterable can either be a list, arrange, tuple. Then we have condition. But this condition is not necessarily. It depends on which kind of list you want to create. Is it a filter or is a map? If you're creating a mapping, you don't need to have any condition, just like this one. Let me show you. Because I just want to have a multiple of two. That means I don't need any kind of conditions. So this kind of list comprehension is what you call a mapping one. Okay, so we have this one. Look at here. Number multiplied by 2. Okay, this is the expression. Then I have po. Then I have this range. Okay, if male, for example, I don't want this one, right? I can create a list. Let me call it a list. Okay, let me create a list called my list. My list, okay? I can create a list. Let me say list functions here. I have a range here. Okay, so I can come here. I can have, let me write the expression. I can have number multiplied by 2. Okay, this is the expression here. Number, sorry. I have number multiplied by 2 because I have multiple of 2 here. Then 4, I have number. Instead of me to have this range, I don't want it to be with range. So let me, because I have an existing list here. Let me create a list. Let me run it so that, okay, yeah, this is wrong. So let me get here. So I can have 4 for number in this, not in this range, but rather in this list. In my list, okay? My list, okay? Just like this one. Let me print multiple of 2, and that's it. Let me run it. So look at it. These are the multiple of 2. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, up to 40. Okay, and you can slice it. I told you before you can slice it, right? So let's try from maybe from the first one to maybe to fifth one. Okay, let me get from the fifth one. Okay, okay, let me call it print. We call it first. Sorry. First 5 element, right? Element here. I have this one. So let me have the column here. Uh, so what's next? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I have this double print here. Okay, so let me run it. Okay, so look at these are the first 5 elements. So I have this one. So this one is, I hope you understand this one. This is what you call slicing. I don't want the entire list. I just want to have just some portion of it. I need only first 5 elements. That's why I print only 5 elements. So basically, this is how you create a what? Uh, so here, let me have this one. So here I have a squares, okay? So I declare it as an empty. So I go into a for loop and I create a square like this. But I don't want to look at here. It takes me about 3 lines to get this list. But using list comprehension, you can create it in a single line. That's why it is what? It's a concise way. Because in programming, you don't want this uh, lazy coding, right? So how can you create a square using this compression? So you have a squares here is equals to, I have here x, this double asterisk, it means power. So here it means x power of 2, that's a square, right? For x in this ranges from 1 to 10. So when you raise number from 1 to 10, 1 square will be 1, 2 square will be 4, 3 square will be 9, 4 square 16, up to 10 square 100. So this is how you create a list using list comprehension. Okay. So I told you before, list comprehension can be used either in what you call muffin or what you call a filter. For example, here, look at here. So I want to get a numbers with a q's. So that's why I have x power of 3 for x a range of 1 to 10. Okay, so print this one. So this is the numbers, okay? And let me create another one. Let's assume I want to create a new list, but I want this list to be printed, okay? But in capital letter. Let me write it. Names in upper. Let me call it name in upper. So I want this name to be name in uppercase. So how can I do that? To do that one, I can have, look at here, I have name dot upper. Okay, this is the expression for name. For this is the item in iterable. This iterable is a names here. So when you print the names in offer, print it, you can see that I have names in offer here. When I run it, look at I have Abba Umar Salims. So if you have a list, if you want to create a list without any conditions, this kind of list is what you call mapping. But once you apply a certain conditions, it now become what you call filter. Filter. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Let me call it name in low. Okay. Sorry. Why is it? Let me call it another name. Okay, is it name in offer? Okay. Yeah. Name in offer. But let me call it here names in. Okay. Okay. So here maybe I want to use a for loop. Let me use for loop so that you will understand much better and you'll appreciate this technique. Okay. So let me declare names in offer as an empty list. Okay, sorry. Let me get it as an empty list. Okay. Let me get an empty list. Then I can have four names, four name, sorry, four name in names. Okay. Then I have names that offer something like this, and I can print it here. And just have names for something like this, and I can have it. So okay, so this is the way you create it using a for loop, and you will appreciate it if you see, look at how we concise it using a list comprehension. Okay, so let's assume here. Let's assume we want to filter something. For example, we want only the names here. Look at here. Ali, Salim, Sani, Abba, Umar, Farooq. Okay, these are the names. But I want to print only those who names start with vowels. Okay, so that means okay. Let me show you something. Okay, so what I should do is um let me create a list names. Okay, name start maybe consonant. Maybe so that we understand consonant something like this. Consonants. Okay, so uh, okay. So I have names. Okay. Sorry. Anas, unmute yourself. Talk.
Assalamu
Anas.
alaikum injiniya.
Yes.
Afuwa wallahi ni fa in aka sa bracket din nan ba komai a ciki rikicewa ban wallahi tun daga farko ban gane ba na yi shiru ko zan gane na ga sai a hankali kuma akwai sanda ka ambaci wani data wrangler haka ko wani abu makamancin haka shi ma dai ban gane gaskiya mene wannan ba.
Sorry, ban gane me kake cewa. Kace in aka bude brackets empty.
Yauwa 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 ƙwarai da gaske.
Okay. What
Empty
I'm saying
bracket
is that
kenan. Eh,
list is a mutable object. Meaning of mutable object, it means that you can create a list and you can keep building it. That's one of the most advantage of list. So you can keep building it. So that's why here we create an empty list and want to build it. So I told you before this that append means please add this to the list. Okay, what I'm saying here is that let me create a list of okay, let me create a list students. Okay, student here. Let me have uh, Salim. Okay, Abba, Usman, for example. Let's see Ali. Okay, let's assume I have these names. Okay, so what I want here, I want only those students that start, only the name of the student that start with uh maybe, okay, only name of the student that start with vowels, for example. Let's assume vowels. Okay, let me add one or two student here. Okay, let's have Shehu and let's have Mukhtar here. Okay, let's have student with vowels. Okay, okay, only name of the student that start with vowels. Okay, so to do that one, I can have two options. I can either use less comprehension or I can use a for loop method. But what I'm saying is that using for loop can take number of stages, but using list comprehension, you can do it in a single line. So let me use it using for loop. Let me use it using bus method. Okay. So if I can have a something like this, I can have student. Let me get as empty bracket. Okay. I told you before I have these names, but I want to build it. So I can do that. So I can have for student and student. Then I can have here. I hope you are getting me. So let me say, let me provide the conditions. Only the student whose name start with this one. Okay. So to do that one, I have two options here. I can either have this one because this is a string and a string is an iterable. So I can have this one or I can provide it in a list. So if students, I hope you're getting me. So if student has these numbers, so please, if students start with this number, please append it. That's what, okay, let me show you something so that we understand here. Okay, if students, look at here, if student here, let me highlight it here. Okay, I can't highlight it, I don't know why. I can't highlight it. Okay, so here, if a student, this square bracket with zero inside is telling me that if the name of the student here, this zero is telling you the first letter. I told you for this is what an index zero. If the first letter is in this set of A, E, A, A, E, O, U, then place append this as append this into student with vowels, right? Append this as a student in vowels. That's what statement is telling you. Okay. So let me show you something like this. So conditions here. I can have it like this. Okay. So let's around I can have, let me print it here. So look at it. And I can simply print the names here in capital letter because of the names here. Let me write it in upper, in uppercase, sorry. Sorry, not in upper, but rather in title, in title. Okay, so this is the names. So this is how we build a pie, a list using what? Using a list comprehension, for loop. So let me use it. Let me use list comprehension to do that one. So we have student, vowels.
Salamu alaikum. Na gane, amma duk da haka kuma sai na ga an ƙara saka wani title haka an ƙara sa wani empty bracket ɗin. Shi kuma me ke nufi?
Wannan in ka tuna, we do something like string method. Yadda aka tuna string ya koma capital ko wannan ko small letter ko me in ka kula
Oh,
ai
okay,
sunayen capital,
okay.
sunayen personal names ai ko da shi da capital letter suke fara. So that's why here we have,
Okay, 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 sir.
maybe I can, let me, if I want, if I don't know, I don't want to confuse you, let me remove it so we can have it like this. So let me create it using list comprehension, okay? Okay, please reserve your questions. I will answer them one after another because we are running out of time and I want to record the session as a single file. Yeah. Okay, so here we have student the title. Okay, sorry, I don't want student to be in title. Let me remove it. Let me remove title here. I just want only student. So I want the student, but only student that the first letter here is in this one. So I can have print the names here. So look at it. So I have the same output, but look at, I wrote it not in a single file. I told you before, what I want here is I just want the name. This is the expression. Then you have for as a for statement. Then you have the item. That's a student. In, you have your list. List is already a student here. Look at the list we're talking about. Look at this one, this list. This is the iterable here. That's where I have the student. He is. But I have the conditions. If so, only student that start with the first letter is in this way. And I can change this one to be a list. Look at it. I can change it like this one to be a list. So I can have something like this. Okay, so you can have something like this. Okay, so look at, I changed this one to be a list because I told you, what this, you can have, how do you call it? You can have, sorry, you can have a tuple or a, look at, let me change it. I saw a list. Let me change it to a tuple here. Let me change it to tuple here. I have the tuple. Okay, so let me change it here to tuple. Okay, so look at it and it's wrong. So because this tuple is also a what? It's also a uh an iterable. So this is, this is how you filter something like this one. Okay. So I think this are the, okay, let me go through this one. Here I have the names. I have Ali, Salim, Sani, Abba, Umar Farooq, Adams, Eze, AK, Olausian. Okay. So I just want to print only the names of uh, people whose letters or characters of the names is greater than three. Okay, so that means 4, 5 to above. Okay, so look at here. Names with greater than three characters. as an open bracket. So I use for loop here. Look at the conditions. If the length of the names is greater than 3, then I want this list to write the name. Please, in this list here, I want only this is where the condition come into play. I want only a name that has a character greater than 3. Please put it inside this list. So the first time we'll take Ali, analyze it, and Ali will fail. So Ali will not be included here because the name is not greater than three characters. So look at Salim. Salim will pass. That's why it will append here. Okay. And I want it to be in what in uppercase, in capital letters. That's why I have here dot upper. So once I run a program, look at the output of program. Okay. But look at here is using a poll, but I can do that using endless comprehension. How can I do that? I have the expression. I want only the name in capital. That's why here. Then how can you generate the name? So I want the name to be in these names. Look at here, these names. Okay. So, but do you have any condition? Yeah, I have the condition. So if the length of the name greater than 3. So when you run the program, look at the output. So you realize that this output and this output are the same. Okay. So what are the benefits of list comprehension? We have seen how list comprehension is. So what are the benefits of list comprehension? Number one, conciseness and readability. Once you understand how list comprehension works, you will you will you will not find it difficult to read others people uh, programs. Yeah, because list comprehension is a uh, is a concise way of writing programs and most efficient way, right? So you will understand others people programs. That's number one, and it helps you to write something logically, yeah, without using too much syntax. Number two, efficiency. These comprehension are generally faster than traditional loops in Python program because they are optimized internally. So, let me see. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay. So that's number one. That's number two. Sorry, number two. We have versatility. Uh, so normally, list comprehension can be used in a different kind of scenarios. You can have multiple conditions. You have a nested loops. When we say nested loops, look at here. Look at here. We have four and we have this indentation, right? I can provide another indentation here. Sorry, if this one, I can provide another one for something like this. And I can have another one. So this is what you call a nesting. A nesting is nothing but to have a multiple of what conditions. That's what you call nesting. To have multiple indentation. After this one satisfy another one, go to another conditions. Okay, so you have this what you call nesting. Okay, so these are the benefits of list compression. You can write one. You can easily read list compression. It will help you to write code faster, and it can adopt a lot of different scenarios. So we have seen all the benefits of list compression. But what are the situations where you don't need to apply list compression? Number one is you need to be very, very serious. Number one is when you have too much list comprehension, you realize that your team, maybe you're working on a research paper, so your team members will not understand it, especially if they are beginner uh, to programming. Let me show you for example here. Maybe you have a list A and B. Look at the list A has, and this is list B. This is the way you can declare a variable, uh, two variable at the same time. So you declare A as a list that contain 1 to 3 and B minus 2 to 4. Okay, something like that. So look at this one. I want to create a list that multiply A and B. For example, I want to create a list that will take element of A an element of B and multiply them. Okay, so this is the so look at here. I have the result. Look at the expression. I have x times y. Okay, but x has to be in A, this one, and B has to be in what? And y has to be in B. Okay, but this is the condition. But if only x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0, so you just multiply them. So this one is very, very difficult for you to understand. Okay, so the best way to do that one is to write it using for loop. So look at it. So this is what we call nesting. Okay, look at 4 and you have another 4. This is what you call nesting. So I want x to be in A. You have your indentation. So you declare I want y to be in B. So you can look at the condition. If only x is greater than 0 and y is less than 0. Okay. And so these are the two conditions. Another condition is only when x and y, the modulus of x and y is 0. Okay. So I want it to append. So this one is easily to read instead of having this one. So that's another advantage of this comprehension. Then another thing is that this compression can only be used to create a list. You cannot print or do anything or any kind of side effects. No. You can only create a list using this compression. Otherwise, you don't need to use list compression. List compression is a technique used to create a list. That is. So here, if you want to print, maybe you want to print an X for X in data, this is very wrong. Just you have the best way to write it is for X in data, print X. Maybe we want to create maybe you want to print a numbers from 1 to 20, so you can have just print maybe number int, then you provide a range, then print number sheet. That's it. You don't need to write something like this. One is a bad practice and it will not work. You need to understand this one. Okay. Another thing is that list compression consumes less space uh compared to normal for loop method. If you can create list using this compression, you will find it very uh, it will accommodate only few bytes. Okay, so I think that's one. I think that's it because I'm running out of time. I have less than 1 minute. So I told you this one before. Okay, when when reading list compression for beginners or team members, I think it is very, very difficult for them to understand. So that's why please you can use this compression only with all these advantages, but please use list compression when it is only your option. Okay. So for example here, the best way to do it one, you want to clean a data. So this is the one you can use using for even though you can use at least comprehension, but it will be very, very difficult for